You're watching It's Life Live with your hosts, Juan Lee and Oliver Marcel. Come join us for enriching, enlightening, encouraging, and thought-provoking conversation. Let's go.
Well, hello, everybody. Guess who's back?
Indeed,
hey, everybody, look who's back. I was preparing to tell everybody that we're on our own again, but look who's back.
Yep,
Oliver's back, everybody.
I'm here, man. It's good to be back. Much needed time just to unwind and reconnect. Celebrating 23 years of marriage, and it was good to get a breather, man. So, but good to be back.
Congratulations. 23 years is nothing small to look at. I mean, that's an accomplishment. So
Indeed.
you and your wife, congratulations. And I'm glad you had a chance to get away and enjoy the time together. That is amazing. Thank you for being an example.
Hey, man.
Of what we need in our society, and that is a balanced life.
A balanced life. What a phenomenal segue.
I mean, it is. Hey, just let's do some house cleaning. Everybody, this is Juan Lee and Oliver Marcel here on It's Life Live, and it's sponsored by Clear Journey, which is a nonprofit that supports individuals and families that are struggling in life to find their balance in life, to be able to, we give education and resources to anyone who are looking and seeking to live their most fulfilling and purposeful life. Last week, as we were alone, we had a guest last week, Oliver.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw, it was Kay. Kay was with us, and we went through all of the areas of life that we talk about at Clear Journey, the 8 areas of life.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a good conversation. I thought it went very well. We had a lot of things that we could talk about. And so we're back this week to basically define what a balanced life is. And then show what are some of the things that a balanced life can prevent. I think that's the way in which we can begin to see value in having a balanced life. Okay. Is in the things that it prevents. It has the opportunity to prevent. And so we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, I'd like to say something to those that are listening. And that is that currently we are being streamed on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Starting next week, the Facebook or the YouTube channel that we're on, it's Juan Lee the Author YouTube channel. We will be transferring to Clear Journey's YouTube channel starting next week if everything goes well. We've already put in for it, but it says it takes a little while for it to get accepted into the StreamYard thing. So we're going to be holding off, and well, not holding off, we just can't do it until next week. So we will be able, and what we're going to be looking for, if you will, please support Clear Journey, and you can by subscribing to Clear Journey's YouTube channel. Clear Journey, you can go there and subscribe to the channel. We will be ultimately transferring all of its life's podcasts and stream and its streaming channel, or the It's Life Live, to Clear Journey's YouTube channel. So we're trying to put everything underneath of the umbrella of Clear Journey so that everybody can find us at the same place. You can still be able to get to me through Clear Journey, as you always have, but we're going to have everything is going to start coming through Clear Journey. Even the website is going to be doing some changing. It's going to go through some changing. That's what I can say.
Nice.
So we would really encourage and look forward and help if you could to please go and subscribe to Clear Journeys YouTube channel and follow us, and so we can continue to support those that are in need and be able to encourage others.
I love it.
That being said, um, we're going to talk about today what it is to have a balanced life. And I know we just talking about how Aller had just come back from a break,
Hmm.
a well needed break,
Yeah.
and I think that's the exactly some of the things that we have to implement in our lives. It's really not an option. We really need to implement those things into our lives so that we can really live a balanced life. And so the definition is of a balanced life is being prepared and equipped to be a built to for the with the ability to navigate challenges successfully. Again, prepared and equipped.
I think we lost Juan momentarily. So while he's coming back, um, for those of you who might be joining us, we're talking about a balanced life and the importance of a balanced life and harmony. And that word's going to come up, I'm sure, in this conversation. There are individuals who are kind of coming away from, if you will, the word balanced. There's some people who you talk to who say that balance in and of itself can't be achieved. And I definitely want to hear what Juan says about that when he comes back. And I'll share what I think about that. I think balance can be achieved, but in as it relates to life, maybe not in the way that we sometimes understand balance. So if you think about riding a bicycle, you have to be balanced, meaning that your weight has to be evenly distributed. And I think as it relates to life, that even distribution may not always take place, but there may be balance in the sense of making sure that there are certain components that are always present as it relates to how you live your life. And so those are some of the things that I believe we'll get into in this conversation. These conversations aren't scripted. So if you hear me say, hey, these are things that I believe we'll get into, it's because typically these conversations are not scripted. We know what we're going to talk about because we want to keep the conversation authentic. That's why I'm saying that. We got Barry Tate in the house. Barry Tate, very important topic indeed, extremely important topic because we live in a society where balance is not often looked at as something that's necessary. So Juan, since you're back, I was just kind of giving an overview of how I think the conversation may go, and
Hey,
just talking about the fact that there are, and we'll get into this,
mhm.
there are some circles that you run in that may actually look down on the word balance. I've heard people tell me that balance is not achievable and that we should be looking at harmony. And there's a different words, that kind of come into play. But Barry Tate's in the house. I put his comment up earlier, says it's a very important topic, and it is.
Yeah. But it's going to be very interesting in addition to what you're saying, because that's true. But I think if we begin to formulate this a little bit differently in the sense of you think about the things that we are confronted with every day,
Hmm.
and let's start off with one of the things that a balanced life has the potential to prevent you from having to navigate or to manage on any given take in any given situation. Because if we remember, the definition is about prepared and equipped with the ability to navigate any challenge successfully. Any challenge successfully. And so let's talk about chronic stress.
Okay.
Let's just think about chronic stress. Chronic stress is about tension and worry. And it typically is around one or two things. It's either work or family. Work or family
Hmm.
that we are chronically stressed out about. And it's because, we're caught up in a trick where we're like, if we don't do, our family suffers. And so the stress of that is constantly on us because here's the thing is, and it's basically because of how have we prepared ourselves so that we can prevent that type of stress from beginning to affect us. So it's about, in this case, it's about and um, career and business and how well you are prepared for it.
Okay.
Because however well you are prepared for it is going to mean that you're either going to be efficient in it or you're going to be inefficient in it. And when you're inefficient in it, you're going to begin to use energy used to or meant for something else. Because if you remember, what we talk about is a life that we can have where we don't have to use energy, an exorbitant amount of energy at the expense of something else,
Hmm.
of being able to manage something else or to be engaged with something else. So if we're talking about business and finances in our home, we're talking about how can we not be stressed out about our family, about our business, about our work. It's about being efficient and being able to work in those areas efficiently. And that's about preparation. That's about, hey, the areas that we talked about last week was called business and a career. It was basically about a career. And it's about how do you manage your career will determine whether or not you can identify and alleviate some stress as it pertains to work and family. It's how you maneuver it, how you're able to prepare for it, because you can then begin to see down the road and understand, look, I can't do but so much and still stay balanced. But at the same time, how do I maximize my workspace and get the most out of it? It's about being efficient in your workspace. So that means putting the time and effort in on the front end so that when challenges come that might have occurred at the home,
Hmm.
that you're now maximizing your workspace and not have to compromise being able to take care of home because you're taking an inordinate amount of time at work to just stay above water.
Yeah. I agree with that, and I think where many of us maybe misstep in the preparation process is our view of balance. And I saw I put up Barry's comment, and I think that's to something I said while you were gone. But I think the apprehension around balance, the thought process that it maybe cannot be achieved, I think may have something to do with how we view it. So we sometimes prepare in a way that, or we prepare with the ideology in mind that we're going to create some level of evenness. So if you think about balance, and what I was saying while you were gone is that if you think about balance in the sense of riding a bike, your weight has to be evenly distributed so that you stay kind of in the middle, right? Whereas that's not always what we're looking to achieve in this scenario. So there may be some things that appear imbalanced in the sense of how much is happening here versus how much is happening here. But what I hear you saying is that you're preparing for both scenarios, whatever may incur,
Mhm.
and it's now a matter of like Barry said in his comment, not so much equal parts, but equilibrium in the sense of, okay, all of the components that I need to be successful, I have them here for this, what if it's work, all of the components that I need to be successful, I have them here for if it's home. And then you're able to move successfully between the two because you are more prepared for whatever those scenarios entail. So I just wanted to say that because often that's not always explained, right?
And yeah,
It's like, okay, work life balance. If I work 10 days, I got to be off 10 days. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. It's not always going to be even in the sense of amounts.
I think this is why really the conversation is necessary tonight, because of the definition of balance that I was talking about.
Mhm.
See, balance is the ability to stay centered in yourself. Again, where we're trying to get to, and this is something that I think a lot of people fail to realize, is that what we're ultimately after in this navigation is peace. That's ultimately one of what we're trying to abstain. We're trying to maintain peace in this journey.
Mhm.
No matter what the circumstances are, we know we got to do certain things, but then where trials come in and challenges, it's there to alleviate our peace. It's to knock us off our path, to take our joy, our peace away from us as we navigate this journey. And so in doing so, how do we do that in light of the fact that there's so many things that are going to be coming our way that, guess what? We might not be have a knowledge of knowing that they're coming, the specifics of it, but we know something's coming.
Mhm.
And being available and aware that, hey, when it does, I'm not going to have to steal from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. You know what I mean? In that
Mhm.
in that financial thing, we talk about stealing from Peter to pay Paul.
Mhm.
But when we talk about life, it's about the most precious resource that we have is time. And it's only 24 hours in a day. And we can't be but so many places. We can only be at one place at one time. Okay. So that's, unless we're on StreamYard. And then we can be in 3 or 4 places at the same time. But the point I'm saying is that we've got to understand that the ability to be able to navigate this thing is about how balanced we can go through it without going through these big peaks and valleys. We can stay centered, so to speak, in line of what's needed and what's happening. See, we can't determine what the outliers are going to be in our lives.
Mhm.
But when they fall onto our plate, we've got to do whatever it takes to now keep it balanced. Keep it balanced. We've got to maintain, in spite of where you dropping a little bit of more pressure on me. You're dropping a little bit more pressure on the left side or the right side, or in my family, or in my work. I've got to, in spite of all of that extra weight, I got to maintain some balance. I've got to be able to stay centered
Mhm.
and be able to maintain this thing.
That's good because essentially what I'm hearing is that balance is more about attitude than activity. And I think sometimes that's where we get hung up. We're trying to balance activity, whereas what we should be aiming for is what you just referred to as being centered. So
Mhm.
now what being centered allows you to do now is allows you the mental capacity to be able to identify priorities in all of those areas where activity is necessary. And then now you're able to, with some level of clarity, address those activities in a way that are beneficial to you and to those that are involved, as opposed
Absolutely.
to trying to manage activities and you start checking boxes. And the minute you fail to check a box, the whole thing comes crashing down.
And here's the thing. It's impractical to try to think that you're going to be able to check all the boxes. There's things going to be thrown at us in everything. It's not, we're not going to be able to be everywhere at every time, all the time. It's just not going to happen. It's just being able to understand what is it going to take. And through preparation, you can be able to understand that maybe when it's needed a little bit more on the business, that the family's not going to suffer. When it's made a little bit that needs to be on the family, that the business or the career is not going to suffer. And that's the centering and that's the balance that I'm referring to. Because again, remember, my definition was to be prepared, equipped with the ability to navigate any challenge successfully.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about here. And that's what the balanced life is meant to do. And in addition to that, as it relates to how we structure it in Clear Journey is that when we talk about stress and we're talking about chronic stress, meaning you've not identified the thing that is causing you the stress, but a balanced life would allow you to see it and then recognize where you need to put effort so that you can prevent it
Mm-hmm.
or to alleviate it. That's what a balanced life is for what we're talking about.
Okay.
Uh,
What's the adjustment that needs to be made in order for you to begin moving in that level of balance?
Well, it's about those 8 areas. If we begin to recognize those 8 areas and then begin to see what impacts those 8 areas, then we begin to see how we can then alleviate some of the challenges that we have. See, we've become accustomed to certain challenges. Like when we talk about chronic stress,
Mm-hmm.
people don't even recognize that it's chronic stress
Mm-hmm.
that they're under until something happens that they can't be balanced in.
Mm.
That they can't be balanced in. And then it's all of a sudden, I got to steal from Peter to pay Paul. So what I'm saying is if we can get the learning, the tools that we needed so that we can be prepared, knowing that they're coming, challenges are coming, we're not going to be avoiding them.
Okay.
And in this case, as it relates to careers and your business, you know, we have to be sensitive enough to know that that's what it is. We've got to be sensitive enough. For instance, you and your wife decided, and this is one of the other things, it's called burnout. Burnout comes from a mental and physical exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't recognize, see, what you and your wife did was the recognizing the need to have a break before you did that physical and emotional exhaustion.
Right.
That's what a balanced life is. It's that appearance. You understand we need this. This is important. This is necessary. This is not optional. This is something that we have to put in place. So for whatever we need to do, we've got to put this in place so we don't burn out.
Yeah. I agree with that. It definitely has to be something that is intentional. I was telling somebody not too long ago that often we view activities that address our mental load as outside activities. So here's my life going in this trajectory, and at some point I realized, oh, you know what? I need to pause this and add this little R&R, or add this therapy, or add this whatever it is you think is the outside thing you're adding. And what I was telling the person I was talking to is that we have to change our perspective around that. It can't be an outside activity. It has to be part of this. So everything else that you have part of this, work is part of this, family is part of this, all of these different things are part of this. So should that. And then once we get in the habit of making that a part of our lives, an integral part of our lives, and we view that as just as crucial as we do the things that we need to do to build our business or to scale or move the needle. When we change that perspective, we'll start to see things a little bit differently, because now we we won't feel like we have to put things on halt in order to address burnout or to address things like that, because it will just be a part of everything else that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ability to be able to put things in order.
Hmm.
You know, when see, a lot of times we don't know what a successful order looks like. And so as a result, we hitting and missing and shooting in the dark, and for the most part, not really recognizing what we're neglecting because we're focused on something that we and not recognizing that there's other parts that's necessary.
Right.
You know, and so that's why if we can get started right, or so to speak. And again, I just focus on these 8 areas that we talk about. And if you go over to clearjourney.org, we have some steps over there for you in each one of those 8 categories, that you can see some little steps that can help you navigate life a little bit better if you begin to see how we can implement it. But what we're going to do is can just continue to show how these things can prevent us from having to go through some things that we otherwise wouldn't have to. And that's, I mean, and I think that's a good way of addressing this, because, you know, we've just made challenges normal. You know, we just made them like, oh, we're going to go through them. We're going to deal with it. You know, yeah, you can deal with it or you can navigate it. You can make it go the way that you can be gained from it or learn from it, or not be as affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what I think is the unspoken thing here, is that it's not about what, as much as what a balanced life can do, and it does a great deal of things for you, but what it can minimize, what it can eliminate you from having to go through. You know, this process that I'm talking about is something that I started this journey 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was the ability to understand I needed directions. I just wasn't willing to say, you know, I'm just going to shoot my shot and just get out here and do what I can the best I can. No, I need some directions. Everything comes with directions, but this thing called life. Everything comes with directions, but it seems like we got to figure it out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing over at Clear Journey is trying to give us some guidance, some education, and some resources so that we can all be successful at this thing called life.
Yeah, and that's good too, and it's needed. We can learn from each other's experience. We can learn from each other's mistakes. We can learn from each other's successes, and I think it's important, man. With the whole balance and harmony thing, I think it's really important that we are we are recognizing that some of the things that society, and I'm gonna use that word loosely, uh, devalue, that in order for you to achieve balance, you can no longer devalue. So give me an example. So we live in we live in a chase the bag kind of society. We live in a society where you'll hear things like "I'll sleep when I'm dead," or you hear things like "You got to continue to grind." You know, wake up, grind, wake up and grind. You know, get the bag, right? We don't often hear, and we're starting to now, but we didn't always hear things like you need to spend quality time with your spouse, or you need to be out planning family activities. You need to be, all of those things sometimes are devalued, and maybe not overtly, but they are in a sense devalued because we stand up all of these other things that are supposed to be of great importance. And I would just say that we can no longer devalue those things. Those things have to hold as much, if not more value than some of the other things in order for us to begin to now start to achieve this balance or this harmony that we're looking for. We have to pay attention to those things.
And I think that's why I think the approach that we're taking here in the sense of being able to address the things that we can prevent and avoid, because it seems like so many of us are getting, you know, what our society is selling us it's not producing what we're looking for in
Hmm.
life.
Hmm.
And for someone to say that money brings you happiness, money brings you harmony, those aren't two things that go together.
Mm.
And yet we don't recognize it, but yet we spend our lives chasing it. Like that kind of, that they chasing the bag, grinding. You know, at the end of a grind and at the end of getting the bag, what is there? What's there? I mean, because at the end of the day, you talk about I'll sleep when I'm dead. Okay, that's the end of the party, and then you sleep. And what have you done? And what have you had to say for that experience that you've had?
Yeah. And that's and for those who might be listening, that's no, we're not going to swing the pendulum in the other direction and say that you should uphold these things while devaluing getting the bag. That's not what we're saying. But if we're talking about balance, then you have to address all of the things that would help you to achieve balance. And often, some of the very things that would allow us to achieve the balance that we're looking for, especially if we're talking about attitude over activity, many of the things that would help us achieve the balance that we're looking for are the things we pay the least attention to.
Yeah, and I think, again, like I said, each and every one of us has to determine what's important.
Hmm.
We have to decide what's important. We can either let society define for us what's important, or we can define it for ourselves and then begin to put things in place that align with our values.
Hmm.
Okay. And so, we say we have a family, but do we put the attention to the family? Do we value the family?
Hmm.
We say we want it, we have it, we engage in it, but do we put the value in it? The same value that we say that we put in chasing the bag. And that's where balance comes in. Not saying you don't need the bag, you got everybody need the bag.
Hmm.
But the fact of the matter is that at what cost do you get the bag? Every one of us has to make that decision for ourselves. No one can determine what that decision or what that cost or is for each one of us, but we have to make that decision. And it should be each and every one of us making that decision for ourselves and not trying to compare ourselves to someone else's venture to get the bag. Because here's inevitably someone else's bag, what it takes for someone to get their bag, you don't know what it takes to get their bag.
That's true.
And just because you want to measure their success with you, there's no way in your world that you can tell you what it's going to cost you to get somebody else appearance that a bag that they had.
That's a good point. That's a good point because that's a good point because that comparison, if let's use me and you for an example, right? Let's say I'm looking at you and I'm like, man, Juan is doing this, and this. Man, he's killing the game. He's doing this. And so now, in order for me to get to on what I feel like is the path to achieving those things, I begin to lay aside some of the things that should be important to me on this journey, not knowing that even though what I see from you is glitz and glamour, that you're actually living a balanced life. You're actually achieving all of those things that I'm seeing you achieve, but you're also spending time with family and you're also taking care of your health and you're also doing these other things. But I'm looking at the accolades and the achievements, and I lay aside the stuff that would help me achieve balance to chase that. That's a good point. because that happens quite often, and we don't see. It's something that my wife used to say all the time. You don't know what it took for someone to get what they have.
And guess what the unspoken thing is there? It's a word called efficiency.
Hmm.
See, that person is efficient at that bag that you might be inefficient at. And so, even if you were to get that bag, the cost for you to get that bag is a whole lot more cost than it was for him
And
to
it's
get
for the
that
other
bag.
person. Man, that's good. That's good. That's good. Barry said, truth, Warren, so difficult to achieve balance pursuing mere activity instead of following purpose. And that word comes up often in our conversations, purpose. More than what we do is the why do it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, at what cost?
Yep. And that's exactly the point that goes unspoken, but it's devastating to the outcome.
Hmm.
It's devastating because we wonder, we can look at all the accolades, and then for those that have gotten the accolades, but they have a broken home.
Mm.
The children are not where they want them to be or desire for them to be, and their thing is that, but I gave them everything they wanted,
Hmm.
but everything, but didn't give them what they needed.
Hmm. Yeah.
See, and that's the hard pill to swallow.
Can I give you even a harder pill to swallow? And this is something that I'm learning
Mm,
on this entrepreneurial journey, is that sometimes, and there are a lot of folk who will not agree with me, and that's okay. Sometimes to achieve balance, you actually have to decrease in some areas. So if you think about balance in the way we know balance to be, if you have a scale, you remember the old scales,
mhm, mhm.
and you have 10 things on this scale, and you have 15 things on this scale, and it's doing like this, you might actually have to take something off in order to get this.
Absolutely.
And in life, what I'm realizing is that, listen, I would love to be a millionaire. Let's be clear. I'm I have a nice goal in mind in terms of financially what looks good. However, what I am realizing is that what I'm not going to do is achieve that at the expense of other things that are important to me. So I'm not going to become a millionaire and have an unsuccessful marriage. That's just not going to happen. So if I have to take that million down to 500K in order for my marriage to thrive, those are the things that I got to take off the scale. And I think some of us are not willing often to do that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so we get to a particular point in our lives and then realize that what we have achieved has cost us more than we wanted to pay.
Hmm. And that's the after effects of not being balanced.
Right.
And the idea is to be able to recognize before you put that last weight on there, to look at, oh, that won't work,
Right.
and don't put that weight on there. That's the ideal thing.
Hmm.
But because it's like getting stronger. You've got to have some counterbalance, some counterweights to be able to get stronger.
Hmm.
If you're gonna go lift weights and stuff, you gotta lift them before you get stronger so you can do it.
Hmm.
So basically, if you go to put something else and you see that the balance is going to be, not being level, you'll go, okay, I got to go get stronger in this area over here.
Right.
I got to go get stronger over here before I can put this weight down on here, because everything ain't going to be balanced if I do. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And
Yep.
so we can do it on both sides, whether we see it beforehand or if we see it afterhand. Like you said, we got to pull it off and be
Hmm.
willing to pull it off.
Yep. And and
That's
and that's good because, and here's the thing, it doesn't mean that you'll never have the opportunity to put that other additional piece on. It just may not be the time to do it, because as life moves on, as you go through different phases and stages of life, There may be something that you need to put on this side that will require you to now add that other piece.
That's where you want to be. That's exactly where you want to be. You want to make sure that what you get, that you need, everything that you need has a counterbalance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get the counterbalance before you put something on the need or want side, that's the way you really want to be able to do it. You want to have sort of like the ability before you put on the additional requirements. You know what I'm saying? And not get the requirements without the ability.
Yeah.
Because that's going to drop it real low, and you'll be like, "Oh, now I don't have it." But if you put the ability on first, then you can drop the requirement down. See, we go get requirement and then never get the ability.
Yeah. And sometimes here's another hard pill to swallow. Sometimes it's about prioritizing the things that you don't feel are important so that they can lead you down the path to achieving the things that are important. Some people don't realize that, right? We diminish sometimes the things that we don't feel like are going to move the needle. We don't feel like are going to allow us to scale. We don't feel like are going to push the envelope in one way or another. But in essence, and I'll give you a real world example of what I'm talking about. There are some things for me that sometimes I don't always, it's not that I don't see the value in it, but I don't connect the dots between the importance of one thing and my achievement of another. So, real world example. Let's say, for example, I have a certain set of tasks that I need to complete. The thing that I would think, and that anybody would think, is you set up your to-do list, you set up your time frame, you set up your what you're going to do, and you knock those tasks out. Sometimes for me, the energy I get to do that actually comes from sitting down with my wife and laughing and joking for a few minutes. That's the thing I would put on the back burner because I'm like, man, that's going to cut into my day. That's going to cut into my timeline. But in essence, I walk away from that experience energized and charged, and now I'm knocking this stuff out the park.
You know,
and we don't always look at that as being a catalyst for the level of success and achievement that we actually want to gain.
And that's contrary to the grind.
Exactly.
That's contrary to the grind.
Exactly.
And yet it's conducive to a balanced life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're trying to get to. Because, see, there are so many things that you've talked about, you've mentioned tonight, that there's so many different parts to it. Because when you talk about attitude, you're talking about the ability to understand that sometimes you have to subtract to be able to grow. And these are all things that it all deals with your motivation. All deals with your motivation. Because, see, if your motivation is sincerely in line with your values, then when you make those decisions, you don't see them as lost. You see them as being authentic. You know? Mm-hmm. And there's where we can say whether or not I ever get there, I'm going to be content. I'm going to be content. And that's a sweet spot. That's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
But even as you are continuing to pursue your potential, you're going to be content wherever you are. That's the sweet spot.
Yeah, man. That's what we're striving to right there, man. Because that speaks to, and to use the words you used earlier, that speaks to a level of peace that is, man.
And most of us don't know what that feels like.
Most of us don't know what that feels like.
Don't know what that feels like. And so this is what I'm trying to say is I want to introduce something to us that we want to reimagine this journey as being something that we can navigate and not just be dragged through it.
Yeah.
We've got to be prepared.
Yep.
We've got to know some things. We've got to get the education. We got to understand some things so that we can navigate this thing successfully.
Hmm.
And so that's the drive. That's the mission of Clear Journey, is that we can all have that type of clarity as we know, and each and every one of us are adding value to one another because we have this uniqueness. We need one another.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that drives us, is to be able to make ourselves whole so that we can invest into others, so that the next generation, and that's what this ultimately is all about, is being able to prepare and to invest into the next generation so that they won't have to go through having to deprogram and just go, just hit the ground running.
Right. Yep. That's good. I like it.
That's what a balanced life is about. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about the things going forward. What are the things that we can prevent? And as we begin to recognize how balanced life, because like what you did this time as it relates to preventing burnout was
Hmm.
with fun and recreation. That's
Hmm.
one of those areas of life that we talk about over at Clear Journey. So we're going to be cutting and biting off one or two of these things a week, so that people can see the value of this thing called a balanced life, and then begin to see that there are ways that we don't have to experience some of those burnout, those chronic stresses, and we can get through life a little bit easier and a little bit clearer.
Hmm.
Um, and so we can, be our best,
Yeah.
no matter what the challenge is.
I like it.
So, Oliver, good to see you. Glad you're back.
Indeed. Indeed. Glad to be back.
And thank Barry for being with us.
Indeed.
Um,
Yes. Thank you, Barry, for being in the comments. Appreciate you.
and hopefully anyone else that's here, like I said, I couldn't check any other platforms when you were gone. So if anyone else is there, we appreciate you for listening, and hopefully you'll be back. But Oliver, let people know where they can catch up with you.
Listen, if you are a social media person, you can, the handle is Denali LLC, DENOLI LLC, everywhere. You can catch me on social media. If you're an email person, you can email me, Oliver at denali.org. Let's have a conversation. Would love to talk to you. Listen, about this whole balanced life thing, I am a proponent of healthy relationships and seeing men win in every area of their lives. So, and that includes being able to navigate this topic tonight in a way that's going to be conducive to your success. So let's have a conversation.
Yes, yes, yes. And by the way, Oliver Denali is one of our strategic partners at Clear
Indeed.
Journey. So you will eventually soon see more of his information on our website, along with others that are going to be compared and being added to our strategic partners. But one thing that we're going to be going to let you know about is something that we're going to have coming up in November, and to be on the lookout for it. We're going to have it on our website, but we're going to have a health webinar, and it's called Harmony at Home. And we want you all to be aware of it. It's something that currently it's on. Um, I don't know exactly where it is, but I'm going to let you know when it is. But it's going to be up on our website. So you can go to the website and register for it. It's going to be on November the 4th. And it's a webinar. We're going to have panelists, and Oliver is one of the panelists on our health at home, help harmony at home webinar.
Yeah, looking forward
So,
to that.
but by all means, look out for that. And if you want to touch base and get in touch with me, you can go to clearjourney.org, or you can hit me at info@clearjourney if you want to send me an email. But go to the website. We have information there that can help you on your journey. And we look forward to helping you in any way possible, because that's what we do at Clear Journey, is we want you to be your very best self. Anything else, Oliver?
Well, shout out to Demarcus in the comments. I saw Demarcus Lewis said thank you for both for your words of wisdom. Thanks for being here as well. Appreciate you.
Hey, appreciate you, DeMarcus, and enjoy. Register, like I said before. Anyone who's listening to us, please go to Clear Journey and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Coming up shortly, we will be streaming live on that channel on hopefully by next Wednesday, and we just want to build that that channel there. So until next time, we can't change life, but we surely can help you navigate a little bit better. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Later.